Red alert. All hands to battle station.
Hey, we're back to part 2 of What We Left Behind. We, as is our wont, got so excited and fired up. We just had so much to talk about, but we also respect your time and understand you don't necessarily have an hour to put this, and we didn't want you to put it aside and be like, yeah, I'll get to it later and not finish it. So here we are, back in our normal time slot on a Thursday, and this is the part 2 of What We Left Behind. Isn't that right, Brian?
That's it exactly. So we're still under red alert.
It's a long time for a red alert, man. That's should we call our doctor because it's lasted more than 4 hours?
Something like that.
I think I have priapism. All right. Well, let's get back. Let's get back to talking about this incredible documentary. Brian and I are not here to give you a blow by blow of what happened. We're going to just tell you a few things we liked about it. If it's okay, I'll go ahead.
Please.
I'll tell you some things that I liked most about it, and then I'll tell you a few things that weren't my favorite parts of it, and then you do the same. Does that sound good? And we'll just interject in between. All right. Here on the red alert, the shields are still holding. I think we're good here. Inertial dampeners are working. My audio Oomox travel mug is fine, and if it's okay if it isn't, because I could spill it on my audio Oomox t-shirt, and it's hand washable, and nothing happens to the logo. Anyway, okay. So the lead-in was weird with Max Grodenchik singing. I'm okay with it. I get it. He's setting a tone because they're kind of having fun with it. And
my understanding is that they did that regularly during the convention.
So fans who saw them and I saw them at conventions early in the middle of the show, but I think this is something they started doing like towards the end of the show's run, at the end and after the show was gone.
It'd have to be because it's what we left behind.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, like the singing, because when I saw them in Oklahoma City, I saw Nana and Renee and John Delancey, Q.
Okay.
And they didn't, as far as I saw, there wasn't a lot of this going on. I don't think Max wasn't there, first of all. But yeah, so I get that. And it was fine. I was kind of amused by it, but I was kind of really like, okay, that's cute. Let's get on with it. But the things I really liked about it, I liked the construct of using the writer's room, and I was really thrilled they got Robert Hewitt Wolf, who, by the way, I've interacted with on Twitter many times over the years. He's a really decent guy. And Ronald D. Moore, who also created Battlestar Galactica reboot, which I loved. To see them in the room in particular, interacting with Ira to kind of give us a season 8, episode 1.
Right, that pitch.
The pitch. Yeah. And then they used some animation to make it happen, which we won't spoil it here for you folks if you haven't heard it, because just incidentally, if you're sitting here going, I don't want to spoil anything, when can I see this? It'll be August 6th or 9th or something like that when the DVD's on sale. And if you're not a backer, because if you're a backer, you could have streamed it. And we were HD Defenders, the show was. So we were not in the credits. HD Defenders were people who came in kind of towards the end. And this was when our show was on hiatus, by the way, which is why we are not in the credits as a thing, because we kind of just dispersed. But I personally put in some money while it was going on to be an HD Defender to fund some of the scenes, the HD scenes, the digital footage, yeah. So we've got a little thing for that. I've shown pictures of before, a little challenge coin. Is that what those are called, Brian? You're military. Is that what it's called, challenge coin? A challenge coin. And so I was like, yeah, let's get to that. I want to see that footage. And I knew most of the history of the show and the background as a super fan, so I didn't learn a lot every second, and that was okay. But it was also good to see everybody, and it was good to get perspectives. The things I really particularly liked, though, like the writer's room perspective was great. I loved, as a writer myself, I love to see how they break an episode. And this is how they do it. It's like, okay, here's the goal. This is what we got to do. So here's what's going to happen. And then they're just like, yeah, and Nog it's going to be Captain Nog, and he's going to do this, and I love that.
Right,
right. And there's like, and there was one scene where it's like, Odo will investigate so-and-so. Well, but maybe not. And they erase him, and that's how it works. Yeah. I loved it. I loved that. I love that aspect. So I love that part of it. I, of course, loved seeing the actors. Oh, my God, it's been said by my other people, but Nana Visitor looks incredible. And, I mean, she's magnetic. And why that woman is not, like, the headliner of her own show on network TV, unless she doesn't want to be, I don't know. But she's so good. I missed having a fresh Avery Brooks. There wasn't a lot of Avery because they relied on some archival stuff. He just declined. He didn't want. He's like, I've said all I want to say about that. So that's why you didn't see anything recent with Avery. I'd seen Avery's that interview. I loved the high def footage was so good. I love seeing Andy Robinson again. Just they used him well. Those are some things I really enjoy. I mean, there's a lot. It was 2 hours of it. It was butt-numbingly good. There was so much going on. I probably, just because we're red alerts, we try to move quickly on these episodes, and I'm going to hand it over to you, buddy. I could have done without probably a lot of the fan commentary, the interstitials, and I think that's because I am a fan, and I talk to fans all the time, so it's like I already know what fans are going to say, and I felt like it was gilding the lily a bit to have fans go, oh, they did this for me, and they did that for me. But, I mean, the thing I had to step back and go is like, hey, dude, this documentary is not necessarily for the super fan who's heard it before.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think they're appealing, and some of that fan footage was another younger generation that's now discovering it on streaming. That where when we were growing up, the original series we had to spot it on weekends or late at night in syndication.
Exactly.
And same thing with the Next Generation is we saw it the first time, but then we fell back on it in syndication. So it became our a way to relax before bedtime because it was on at 10 o'clock or whatever. I don't know. The Deep Space Nine didn't have that. It was a little harder to syndicate.
Your terms are correct. I mean, but just remember that TNG and DS9 were first run syndicated series. TNG was the first run. So you're saying syndicated, but I don't mean
reruns. I'm talking reruns.
Okay, I don't mean to pick nits, but I want to make sure people understand that.
But I think DS9 lends itself even better to streaming, and they talk about it quite a bit during the documentary, which is those longer arcs, much more groundbreaking in those long-term character development, long-term plot lines
that went beyond 2 episodes.
Exactly.
Usually it was a 2-parter, and cliffhangers were occasional, but it was usually a 2-parter. We move on, and then it's like you can mix and match episodes. And this one, it wasn't. And you're right. And frankly, they make a great point about that's DS9 started it all. And so if you liked Battlestar Galactica with their long arc, the reboot, thank them. If you like, now there's a lot of people who say, well, Babylon 5 did the same thing at the same time, and they're totally right. Babylon 5 actually stretched it out for 5 years. There's some stuff that was mentioned in the first season that you don't see a resolution to until the 5th in Babylon 5. Just saying. Right. I love Babylon 5. It is DS9 is my favorite, but I just want to give props where they're due. I don't want to be one of those people who are like going to dismiss them just because. But so I think you're right. I think that the fan point is it's well made about the fans, and so you're right about that. And I think just like Sean and Jeff were saying, I could have used more of the cast.
Right. Yes.
I didn't get me near enough of Colmini talking. And definitely, no, Avery. I know Avery ain't gonna talk. He ain't gonna talk. And by the way, that line about this is so funny. You're not gonna believe this. And I even thought about going back to find it. I may still do this. I mentioned how I Twitter. I talked to Robert Hewitt Wolf years ago, back and forth. And I even said to him a few years ago. So tell the truth. Is talking to Avery Brooks like actually talking to a jazz tone poem? And and he basically said, "Yep." Yeah, that's what he is. And he's just jazz. That's how he is. Because I saw him in another documentary, the William Shatner, The Captain's documentary, and he's sitting at a piano talking to Shatner, and Shatner, frankly, looks bewildered.
From God to you,
Through
to me.
Yeah.
What happens when you die?
Tell me.
Wish I knew. Do you have a thought? It could be good, it could be bad. It makes me smile.
Because Brooks is all like, it's like Shatner's like, so how did you feel sitting in the captain's chair? And he's all like, he's tickling the ivories, and he's doing that, and he's all like, see, because it's me, and it's you, but it's me, not you. Do you see what I'm saying, Bill? And then he has this smile, and Bill's looking at him like,
I don't see what
you're fucking with me, man. I mean, but he doesn't say that. But it's the look on his face. And if you haven't seen the captains, you need to see that. So I could have used more of that. And well, I could have used more of everything other than, but purely out of love. It's not a criticism. What about you, brother?
I would tend to agree certainly about the cast stuff. I did like them talking through in tying the female characters together and talking about their strength, talking about their complexity, especially the Kira Nerys character, and we've talked some on our show, but to hear the actors and writers talk about it, the fact that she's a terrorist, she's got, suffers from post-traumatic stress. She's got a lot going on, that more than some of the kind of two-dimensional characters, female characters that you often see. That I thoroughly enjoyed a deeper discussion among the cast members about those roles, and I like that they took on head on the a black lead who's
a good dad, a good single dad.
Right, yeah, and that kind of groundbreaking stuff is what is really very Roddenberry-esque.
Right.
For me, it reinforced things that I already knew. It saddened me again to realize that they get so little credit for so much groundbreaking stuff that they did.
Well, one of the biggest crimes in television history is that Avery Brooks didn't get a Best Actor Emmy nomination or a Best Director nomination for Far Beyond the Stars.
Oh, that was a great one.
Well, because it's he and I was so glad they covered the Benny Russell meltdown scene and talked about how Avery, the first assistant director, because Avery was directing that, but he was starring in that scene. So for the first AD is talking about, do I say cut? And you watch it now, and you look at Armin Shimmerman, who's clearly looking up like he's supposed to be looking at Odo, but I know damn well he's looking at the director like, are the assistant director, are we going to cut?
Are we done? Yeah.
Are we done? Because Avery Brooks got so deep in that. And at the time, I felt, oh my God, that's really touching back in the 95. But now, after years of watching video of authority figures abusing and beyond abusing, killing black men and women, it's just like, it's gut-wrenching. And so I was thoroughly enamored with that part of the documentary too, without getting too heavy about it.
Yeah, and we'll probably cover it more when we get to that episode.
When we get to that episode, we're going to go. It's going to be epic talking about that, because that's a great episode in so many ways. So I'm with you on that. I think there was so much good there. Was there anything you could have done with less of?
The lounge singer thing. At the beginning,
Vic Fontaine.
No.
Max. Oh, okay.
No. I'm saying that them at the beginning and them at the end. It was okay. I get that it's kind of a thing. It's a thing. I wasn't at the conventions. It's just okay.
A little indulgent. Me. It's kind of like us having an hour-long episode.
Right.
People are like, my ears
which
hurt.
We do.
Yes, my ears hurt. Like I'll admit, at that point, my butt's hurting. I didn't want to leave, but I wanted to get up, and I couldn't. And so it was indulgent. And I thought the credits, by the way, were well done and funny, and I'm glad I sat through those. And with Nana and Ira, and she made these great points. They didn't even get to really talk about duet. They didn't really, all the things they didn't get to, and I understand there's the cutting room floor, and if you buy the DVD, you're going to get a lot of bonus stuff there. So I think if you're good with me, I think we're good there. So I have to tell you something. I'm going to be indulgent for just a moment. because I didn't get to go to the Deep Space Nine confessional at Vegas. And we're going to go, by the way. And by the way, Sean and Jeff did say we should be going to the Kansas City Comic-Con next year in March. So maybe we're going to get a booth there. And they were like, you would be welcome there, and you guys would do great there. And so I'm like, okay. I want to take you back. There's 2 reasons why we have audio Oomox, okay? Besides the fact that we're dorks, there's 3 reasons. We're dorks is the first reason. We're just goofy guys.
Yeah.
The other reason is we love each other and care about each other. We're friends. We've been friends for 35 years. And this is just a touchstone in our friendship where we can talk about something we both enjoy and goof on it and just have an excuse to get together for 45 minutes to an hour every week on Skype or whatever, because you live in Chicago and I live in Kansas City. The other reason, though, is this show. There are so many reasons that documentary covers why this show is important. Can I just tell you one reason why this is important to me?
Sure. And
this will mean something to you right off the bat. April 19th, 1995. I worked at the Children's Hospital Complex in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and less than a mile away, a domestic terrorist blew up a federal building, killed 167 people, and we as hospital staff went high alert because there was a children's daycare in that center, in that building. All those kids that survived, and some of them didn't make it when they got there, but they took them to Children's where I worked. We were pressed into service. I was on the PR administrative staff, and I was public information officer overnight a couple of times. But we were all brought in, and we worked probably anywhere from 14 to 18-hour days for months, seeing these poor kids. And Oklahoma City's not a huge town. It's 500,000 people proper, and then the metro area is another million, total million about. But the media was all about, for weeks, it was all about those square blocks. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the thing. That was the story, and that's what you heard. But it was like, for me, it was like anywhere from 14, 18 hours a day was at the hospital where you're just neck deep in horror and tragedy. And I saw a lot of these kids, and I don't want to go into that part. That's not what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But then I go home at night, and I needed to get away.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you something. I was on the local Fox station, Fox 25. You remember this? You used to live in Oklahoma City. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
KOKH, right? Fox 25. I remember I had a particularly bad day. We had dealt with everybody from Oprah to the Duchess of Windsor coming in, and I was exhausted, and I met with like the parents of some of these kids who were camped out in the waiting areas for weeks. And I was just like, I would do anything if I didn't have to think about that for a while. I went home, I turned on the TV, and just turn it on, and what's there? Da 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 da, and I don't even remember what episodes. It was 95. Do the math. April, May, 95. Mm-hmm. We're in May of 2019.
Right.
I swear to God, and this has stuck with me. This was a couple of weeks into this tragedy. The one time I could get away from it for like a whole hour was when DS9 was on. That one time.
Right.
I still remember like the voiceover guy who would go, they would do the show, and then they would do like a little interstitial and be like, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and it was like a local guy doing it.
Right. Brought to you by
Chick or whatever. And I was just like, but I remember turning off the TV and thinking, oh my God, I thought of something besides dead babies or miserable people or tragedy.
Right. Yeah.
So for me, beyond all of the sociological wonderful things and the genuine entertainment, if people tell you, oh my God, Star Trek, Deep Space Nine helped me escape from something, a bad childhood, whatever, I legit escaped from tragedy with this show. I just had to say that. I had to say it. I had to say it. And if Ira is listening and anybody from that show is listening, thank you, thank you, thank you. And it doesn't have to be a legit fucking tragedy to be thanked for entertaining people.
Sometimes
because
it's the monotony of our workaday lives, and there's so many. That's how the entire Star Trek saga is for me. You find yourself looking up at the stars and thinking, is there more than this? And here's one possible future. here's one possibility of what we could have if we could just put our differences aside, get our shit together, and all work towards a common goal. We could reach the stars. We've proven we can do it.
Right.
so that's I agree. There's some great things in that series. Like I said, I was out of country at that time. I was in Haiti, actually.
Oh my God! Dealing with your own nightmares. By the way, he won't say it. He won't say it, but he was dealing with a failing state that was on the verge of a coup, and he was part of a team that got in there and prevented a ton of bloodshed. And I respect this man so very much, and he would never say that. I'm his PR man, and I'll just tell you.
Jimmy Carter did the hard work.
Jimmy Carter did the hard work. He wasn't president.